Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Good morning and happy March, thinkers. It's me, your host, Elena Grace, and you are listening to another episode of I've Been Thinking. So thank you for that. Welcome. If you have not been here before, welcome in. I am so glad all of you are here. And I'm so excited for what you are going to get to listen to today. So today's special guest, we have Atlanta native Kyndra Crump. She is a comedian, a YouTuber, a PhD student. She is just doing all kinds of stuff in the best way. She has her own podcast, everything. Kyndra is just a really interesting person, and she has some really interesting perspectives to share with us, and I'm so excited for y'all to listen. I mean, we talk about everything from high school friends to childhood trauma to, the inner child psychology, because that is what she specializes in as a student. We talk about, oh my goodness, the importance of community, all of the above. We also somehow get around to talking about Michael Jackson. And I mean, what a conversation. It was so much fun to have. And I hope that you guys enjoy listening to it just as much as I enjoyed recording it to share with you all. And yeah, it is a hoot. Kyndra is so much fun. So I encourage you, if you do enjoy this episode, please go seek her out. Check out her YouTube, check out her podcast. All of that is, of course, linked in the show notes. So without further ado, here is I've Been Thinking with Kyndra Crump.
Hello there. Thank you so much for having me. I made it. I see I was approved on the Section 8 waiting list, so I'm here. Thank you.
I'm so glad you made it. I really am. So Kyndra, why don't you introduce yourself? You are a comedian. And you're funny. I mean, you've already made me laugh once, sister. So we got a lot we're going to cover today, kind of on a high level, but go ahead and introduce yourself so the people know who you are.
Yes, born and raised in Atlanta. I am a recent graduate from Clark, Atlanta. So
congrats.
Yes, thank you. I got my bachelor's in mass communication. So the goal is to have my own radio and television show. So I've been doing jumping on people's podcasts until that time comes. I am going back to school in January to be on the road of receiving my PhD in child psychology. The reason I've chosen child psychology is because I realize a lot of our trauma stems from childhood, and that's the reason why you have, so many crappy adults out here in the world, because they have not gotten the necessary precautions to root that trauma out. So with that being said, I pretty much just say, hey, let me just go ahead and go forth with that, and yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at with it. I'm here just to try to make a change in the world, and that's who I am.
I love that. I really love that a lot. That is so admirable that is your goal, to make a change for the better, to that you realize how much of who we are comes from our childhood. I think it's funny that you said that, because I've always said, and I've seen tons of other people say it too, they say you have to get just the right amount of childhood trauma to be funny. To be a funny person, you've got the right combination of spices. It's the right amount of childhood trauma to be funny, but there's a fine line between being funny and fucked up.
That's true. No, that's true. For me, I deal with a lot of different trauma in different stages have happened for me in life, and different things have happened to me over a course of time that have rooted to a lot of my pain, and so I just try to find the funny out of everything. It's like never a dull moment in my life. So I said, let me just go ahead and share it with the world. Let me get on people's podcasts and display my sense of humor and just let you guys know what I'm going through.
I really admire that, and that has always... Oh, I almost dropped my computer.
Oh, that's not good. That's an expensive computer. We're not dropping that.
No, we're not doing that. It just slid out of my lap. It's fine. I'm sitting in the floor. It's okay. Like I said, for the listener, we're recording this ahead of time. So right now I am in the process of moving. My microphone is on a box. I am in the floor. My laptop is in my lap. If it had fallen, it would have been fine. It was 2 inches. Yeah, so we're okay. We're okay. Anyway, what? Oh, that is something that I have tried to do on the podcast, is make people not feel alone. Let people know, there are things that I've gone through that are not nearly, the things that other people have gone through, but still, you might not have expected that somebody with my personality went through something like that, just based on stereotypes, et cetera, et cetera. And so I like to share these things, and I like to have other people come on and share these things that they've gone through if they're willing to, so that people know that they aren't the only ones experiencing something like that. It's okay, and furthermore, it can be talked about, and it can be normalized to the extent that of knowing, other people have these things happen to them. I'm not the only one. That doesn't necessarily make it okay, but it means it's not something I can't get help for.
Of course. And I think, what the thing about it is, I think a lot of times when it comes to with, mental health, I think it's swept underneath the rug. I think people would much rather go ahead and be, and no offense to anybody out there, because you got to put a disclaimer, or else you're going to get sued, and then here comes a whole community or whatever else it may be.
You're right.
But it's just more so for a fact of people would rather sit here and medicate themselves, whatever medication, because even when it's prescribed or you go and get it from the streets, it still is a negative reinforcement instead of something positively reinforced, because you can sit here and do as many prescription or non-prescription type drugs as you want, but you're going to just be a zombie walking around.
You're not dealing with the root of the matter. Yeah. That has been something that I've had to, because I've been very public with the fact that with my mental health, and then also with the fact that I did eventually have to seek out medication, and I am on anxiety and depression medication. And that doesn't mean, though, that I haven't still been doing the work to deal with the things that led me to that point so that one day I can go off of it, you know, because I don't want to have to be medicated for the rest of my life. Maybe I will be. I don't know. You know, I don't know how that's going to go. But I still want to do the work. And the thing for me has been that getting medicated, I'm on Lexapro, which, like I said, is anxiety and depression. Going on that has given me the ability to focus on growing and helping myself and getting to the root of some of those things, where before, if I tried to do that, immediate like panic attack, immediate something else, and I couldn't put that energy into it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel ashamed once you realized that you had to go get medication at any point in your life?
Thankfully, I didn't. I have been on medication for almost 2 years now. So thankfully, I was living with one of my best friends at the time, and she was already on like anxiety medication. When I went to my mom and told her, you know, these are some problems I'm having, she was like, oh, I think that like we need to take you to the doctor and see if you need to be medicated. Your aunt is medicated. So, and I was like, I wish y'all had told me that sooner.
I was going to say that, so you got to wait until like, now it's like now or never, and they're finally telling you, this is what the people need to stop doing, man. Like,
exactly.
This is not good.
Exactly. And I was like, couldn't you have told me that? And she was like, well, I don't know. It never came up. And I'm like,
what do you mean it never came up? You need to bring your mama on the podcast, man.
I know, I really do. I've tried a time or two, and she's like, no, I'm scared I'll mess it up. I'm like, sister, you can't mess nothing up on here. Have you heard me? She listens to me and she calls me. She always listens like 2 or 3 days later after like the episode comes out, and she'll call me and she's like, Elena, why'd you say that? I'm like,
oh, just because it was on my mind, Mom.
Because it was on my mind. It was funny.
It needed to be said.
I'm speaking the truth. Like, she's like, oh, geez, okay, whatever. Oh, man. So your childhood traumas, you said that is what started, or like realizing you had these traumas, that's what started your passion for mental health, right?
Yes.
In a way.
Most, and I like talking to kids, man. Kids are honest. They're funny. They're cool to be around. Yeah, they don't listen 98% of the time, but I enjoy being around them in the sense of, you know, looking at their freedom and feeling how free they are, not caring.
Yeah.
Like they're care. I love it. That's why I love being around kids. But in this day and age, you gotta put a disclaimer on that too, because people are like, oh, you're around kids, what's going on with that? And I'm like, lady, I like being around kids. Like, I literally would befriend a kid like faster than I will an adult. I you know, or want to, because I just feel that peacefulness and freeness with them. But adults are just like just all over the place. And, and like I said, with kids, it's like I'm gonna tie Michael Jackson to this. When it came with that whole, you know, him having the, you know, reliving his childhood that he never had, that made him look like this horrible person, because he is having this, you know, sleepover with these boys. But, you know, like, who knows? Something could have happened, but he was just really just being a child, like, because he never had one. He finally got to that point in his adult life. So it's like we should shame him for what he did. And then the kids came out as adults and said, hey, our parents told us to lie on him. The man's dead now. Like, you ruined the man's life. You ruined his life all because your parents told you to do that. How did your parents allow you to manipulate you to be that horrible of a person? But this is what I'm talking about. You know, there are some kids out here who literally, and those kids probably didn't think nothing was wrong with Michael. Like, oh, cool, it's Michael Jackson. He has this adult, like, or child wonderland that I've never seen and may never ever, you know, get a chance to hang out with. Let me hang out and let me just, you know, have my child, you know, mentality and stuff like that. But like I said, when it came with that, and that kind of like hurt me, because I'm like, bro, like, y'all literally will sit here and plot and ploy on a dead man, and people have to really say a disclaimer before, so people don't come after you years down the road and be like, yeah, I heard what you said. Chester the molester. And I'm like, no. I never said that. I never said. I'm just saying, like, I think that's it's sad that you have to really do that, like, so you can save yourself when people should understand what you mean at that time.
Yeah, I feel you for sure, like 1,000,000,000% on that. An episode that came out back around Thanksgiving, I had my boyfriend on as like the guest host, and it's funny when I have him on, and it's a lot of fun for the two of us too. And he said something that, like, it was a joke between the two of us. I thought it was funny. Like, it was one of those like inappropriate jokes that when you know the person, you can think it's funny. But if somebody random said it, you're like, oh, what do you mean by that? You know what I'm saying?
And I hate that you can't, that you guys have to like censor yourself.
Yeah, I cut him out, and he was like, hey, I get it. Like, I probably shouldn't have said that on the recording. He was like, but you have to worry about your brand, and you have to like take care of yourself. You don't want somebody. And I was like, I almost didn't, but I was like, I've got some people that I know, even if they wouldn't be offended and think that like Adam was an awful person or something, like they might have been triggered by that in one way or another, like hurt by it in one way or another. So yeah, I took that out, and he's like, I totally get it. But yeah, you're right. It is like rough in this day and age that we always have to worry about that.
Especially me as a comedian.
Yeah.
I used to babysit a lot, and after because babysitting and nannying was kind of draining, so I said, let me just go ahead and just talk to the children anyway. Let me go ahead and go from that realm. But babysitting, but what had happened was I lost the train of thought real quick. Okay, I remember now. I hate when that happens as well.
Me too.
But I hate when, like, as a comedian, they try to censor us because of just saying something that's funny or whatever it might be. And I hate the fact that we cannot, like, because I think we're all funny in our own ways. That's why I say we. I hate that the little things that that you'll say now can be used against you 10, 20 years later. And it's like, when I was 13, I thought like a 13-year-old. But if I'm 30 years old, why are you holding that against me?
Right.
Like, who cares? Like, don't bring it out when I'm 30 years old. Like, I'm 30. I'm past a different stage in my life.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. Yeah, like 1,000,000,000%. I've worried about things before where I like come back a few years later and I'm like, hey, I just want to like say like publicly on my Instagram story or on Twitter or something. I'm like, I did this thing when I was 18 and I shouldn't have done that. But like, I realize that now. FYI, don't like crucify me for it, But what you said earlier really, like, it sparked an idea in my head that I want to come back to. When you were talking about Michael Jackson trying to relive his childhood that he didn't get to have, it really made me think about how honoring your inner child is a really big movement right now in like a lot of mental health circles, I think. So like doing things that when you were a kid maybe you weren't allowed to do, or you were bullied by your friends for liking, or whatever it is. I think it's really cool that that has kind of come to fruition, that we're more socially acceptable to do things like that now. Like watching anime. Like when I was growing up, watching anime wasn't necessarily cool. Like Dragon Ball Z was like it. You could watch that. But other than that, people thought you were weird if you were watching anime. And still some people do. But I watch anime all the time with my boyfriend. I think it's a lot of fun, So like doing things to honor your childhood that you didn't get to really enjoy and have fun with at that time. I think it's really awesome that now that's socially acceptable, when, like you said, like at Michael Jackson, he wanted to have this fun, wild place to live in, that he could be a child again, and everybody shamed him for it.
And again, like, I don't know, like, I think that's why it's important, not to have, the child stars. I think when people turn 18, I understand you want to have kids to play in kids TV shows, but like, couldn't there be other type of ways and realms of being able to get like, okay, how we had Dora the Explorer, and then you had like Kim Possible cartoons. Can't we replace the wait, they had Out of the Box, which had adults.
Loved that. They
had adults and, some, a couple kids or whatever, but I feel like they were like maybe in high school, so I got to go back and look at it. But with that being said, like, let kids be kids. You have them. I was watching this, little mini documentary series with Raven Simone. It's called Uncensored, that comes on TV One, and I was watching it, and she was saying that she has no memory or recollection when she was on the Cosby Show at all. Like, her parents made her say, you cannot mess up, and she said she realizes what it was. It's something dealing with therapy, and that she had to go get therapy for it. But she says, I don't remember anything at all. My entire time I was on that show, I remembered nothing. She's like, I remember the staircase, but my memory is shot. I don't remember it. It's like, as soon as the camera, they said action cut, she had to be a whole nother person. Yeah. And the fact that she literally, you can tell Raven is miserable. Like, they talked about her weight as she got older. She wanted to be away from the limelight. Then she tried that, and it really didn't work. Like, she literally had this thing where she was just miserable. I can feel her pain as she was talking, right? Then she comes, and of course she was on The View, and she had to get off The View because she was very opinionated and about certain things that more than likely was true, though. Certain things she said probably more than likely was true, but she's like too real and too raw for the people. So with that being said, I agree with her. Like, I think the thing is, when it comes to like being a child actor, actress, it's tough. It's horrible, and I don't know. I feel also because of the fact of, because Michael Jackson's a black man, I have this analogy where I say being a black man in America, or being black period, is like playing all Madden. Okay? It's hard. It's terrible. It's hard. That's the hardest level out there. So him being a black man out there, it makes it worse. You have other people out there in the world who are of different ethnicities, and they can get away with that same thing. Nobody cares. If Elvis Presley wanted to relive his childhood with young people, then nobody's gonna care. Oh, it's Elvis. He married a girl who's 14. Nobody cares about that, right?
Yeah, honestly, I really do think you're right about that. I think that it's the combination of the fact that Michael Jackson was a black man, and then also that he had othered himself kind of in ways, and not just because he was being who he was, but socially, some of the things he did, people were like, oh, that's just weird. We don't like that in the public eye right now at this point in time, at this context of the context of where we were as a society, where we were as the United States, in general. People just thought he was a weird dude after a certain point. And that definitely didn't help, because are you a true crime person at all?
I am. I'm very versatile. I'm not that's not my forte, the top of the list.
I feel you.
I'm with everything. I like anime. I'm not. Now, I would like to go to Comic-Con one day.
I would like to go to Comic-Con too. We can go together.
Yes, we can. You and your boyfriend. Let's all do it.
Let's go. Okay, so what I was going to say, though, is there is this super controversial, it happens all the time in true crime, but I think of this a lot. There's this super controversial true crime case called the West Memphis 3. And it was about these little boys who were brutally assaulted and murdered out in the woods in West Memphis, Arkansas. I want to say it was Arkansas. And the whole blame got put on these 3, quote unquote, weird teenage boys. And they didn't do it. They literally didn't do it. But all 3 of them went to jail for a while, because the public was convinced, the town was convinced, that these 3 weird guys were the ones who did it just because they were weird. And there was literally no evidence that pointed towards them, but the cops wanted it to be them. And they made a case around the fact that they wanted it to be them. It's just super interesting to me. So I come back to that a lot, where it's this, like, people judge you so much based on just wanting to be who you are. Now, I know that there are things, obviously, that are, like, not cool to be, like being a pedophile or something like that. No,
you know what? And I was gonna say,
like, that's not cool.
They all should burn in, like, hell. Like, I do not like pedophilia. I think out of all of the sins, I know the Bible says no one sin is greater than the next, but pedophilia is the worst one to me, in all honesty. I hate pedophilia.
Yeah. That's not cool. That's not cool to be. But if you're just vibing, being yourself, and you want to wear all black, like, why is that a weird thing? And back in 2000 or like 1997, or I forget exactly when the case was, but it was like, no, actually it was in the 80s. Back in the 80s, wearing all black around and being a weird kid and not really having a ton of friends, like, that was enough to go to jail for.
That's a shame.
It is a shame. It is a shame. I'm so glad we've come to the place as a society that and I think this is like a kind of controversial opinion that I have, but I think a lot of it comes down to the internet and social media, that we can find communities where we're like, oh, other people are like me, kind of what we started off talking about at the beginning of this episode, where other people are like me, so it's okay to be this way, in a way. Like, and again, like, you know, with certain things, like other people, when I was in high school, all the girls were preppy. Pretty much all the girls were preppy, so I thought I had to be preppy too. Well, it turns out I graduate, and turns out I am like a Stevie Nicks boho bitch, and here I am. I have discovered that now, but at the time, because all of my friends, all the other girls I went to school with were in Lilly Pulitzer, I thought that's what I had to do too, to fit in, right?
When did you come to that realization that that's not what you have to be?
About 2017. Yeah, it was. I was coming to that realization through college, but about 2017 is really when it hit. And I was like, because even in college, like I said, I was coming to that. I was like working on it, but I was still hanging on to it, like, because I thought that was who I was. It was like a part of my identity, I thought. But then I realized it wasn't who I was. It wasn't what I had to be, and I could move on from that. But anyway, that's my controversial opinion, is that I think that social media and all of that, it helps kids see, like, I can have a different style than the kids I go to high school with. I can dress in different ways. I can even think different things than my friends or my parents. And it's okay.
No, and that is true. It's did you have a small clique, or you were like pretty much had like 5 or 10 friends in high school that you remember?
It was pretty small. I'm not really good friends. I have like 2 friends from high school still, and we're not even as close now as we used to be.
I was gonna say, that to me is beautiful, that you even have that. You know, I have a friend. Okay, we're friends. When we got out of high school, we were very close, and now it's like, you know, we're cool. We're cool.
Yeah.
She supports me in my comedy shows when she can make it. It's been one time, but hey, she came to support it.
Yeah.
You know, if I ever need a place to stay, if I'm hungry, if I need some money, I will call her. She's there. Good for that.
Right.
And yeah, and it's so crazy how the people, you know what? That's why I keep thinking, I'm like, bro, how do y'all actually stay friends with people? You know what's crazy?
Literally.
Our parents and grandparents' generation, they have been friends with each other since 2. And they have stayed friends. And it's like they know the real definition of friendship. We don't have that. I don't know what happened in our generation where we cannot actually, you know, be able to keep that maintaining. Like I've always thought that. Like that's why I'm gonna keep it real with you. I don't take pictures with people because I feel like at some point you're gonna leave my life, and it's not me being pessimistic. I'm just keeping it all the way real. Like at some point you're going to leave me. And that's like a trigger thing because I'm like, we were doing really good. Why'd you stop talking to me? Like, I've had issues where I've had conversations with people, thought they were good. We, I thought we are going to keep in contact and, I'll, reach out. But then they just don't respond back to my messages anymore. And I'm like, what was the point of that?
Yeah.
What exactly was the point of that entire thing?
Right. Yeah. No, I very much feel that. And something else that I think is really interesting now that I've been experiencing is the friends that I thought would be my friends forever in high school. Maybe like a lot of them definitely aren't. A lot of the ones that I thought I would, never lose contact with, that kind of thing. And the ones that some of the people, definitely not all of them, but some of them that I wasn't very close with in high school, or even people who were older than me, I didn't even know in high school, we have like come back and reconnected now as adults. And it's like this evolution, this growth, like turning into the people that we are now. We have realized, we have a lot in common now that maybe we didn't back then.
That's a good way of looking at that. I'm glad you think about it like that. That's actually a good way, but I think for me personally, I don't know, would you say that like depressed you in a sense because you thought that you guys were going to be friends forever, or you just like, hey, it's a part of life?
There have been a few people, and also people from college that I thought would be my good friends forever. And, one thing or another happened. Sometimes it was like a miscommunication happened and they were like, no, out of here after that. And I'm like, that's not how that happened, but okay. Anyway, there have been things that, people who I thought would be in my life forever, that it did depress me, for sure. But then there have also been people that I'm like, we're just not compatible to be friends anymore. Like I love seeing you around when I'm in my hometown, or when I'm like, so I love seeing them. Still know their parents, talk to their parents. Sometimes I talk to their parents more than I talk to them. But like,
okay,
yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, but like some of them, yes, it did hurt me very much, and some of them, I've just been like, that's all right. Okay. You do your thing, right. I'll do mine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought once I made it to college, I went to a community college and a university, and I was like, oh yeah, I was told, the American dream. Oh, your friends are gonna be your best friends for the rest of your life, your college friends, all that type of stuff. And community college, I had a better repertoire with those girls,
really,
and some of the guys. University, I didn't really have. I really did not have that type of great repertoire because the maturity level amongst the students was just in the trash. At the community college, you're coming across students who are between the ages of 18 and like 80, right?
Yeah.
I came across an 80-year-old woman in one of my classes. And with that being said, I was very much a person who was thinking like, okay, this is going to be great. One of them asked me for a big lump sum of money and she paid me back 3 days later. I'm like, oh my gosh, you can borrow money from me anytime. I should have never said that, because the one thing I learned is that people will do good the first couple times and they want to make you feel comfortable. And then like you think that they're going to always do good and then they don't. And you're like, bro, what happened? You had a good track record. They're still human. So yeah, like she didn't even tell me happy birthday this year. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you know what? That's fine. But you know what? When I had posted about one of my comedic shows, she reposted it and said, "Y'all go check out my good friend Kyndra." Good friend. Wow, I didn't know I made some friend. I didn't know that's what we were. I wasn't sure.
I wasn't sure. That's funny you say that, because this weekend I was with my best. I have two very best girlfriends that were my just random friends from college, and we were in the same communities, and that's what brought us together. So one of them was my random roommate, one of them was down the hall from us, and the three of us ended up joining the same sorority. We lived on that hall together.
What'd you pledge?
I was a Phi Mu.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were Phi Mu's together. We were on the same hall. We like lived close to each other like many times. Like we're all roommates at various points in times, and then we were roommates after college too. So they're my best friends, and they will be my best friends forever. Like I have zero doubt in my mind about that. Like they're my sisters now, you know? So anyway, that was a rant. I was hanging out with Taylor this week, and she was like, this girl that is part of her high school friend group, that they still have a group text together. And they don't really talk in it a ton. It's like, hey, we're all going to be in the hometown at this point in time, like doing this thing. If you guys want to stop by, you can, that kind of thing. And they usually all tell each other happy birthday in there. Well, this girl hadn't told Taylor happy birthday at all, one-on-one or in the group text. And she texted the next day and told one of the other girls whose birthday it was the next day, happy birthday. And Tay was just like, that's just really funny that everybody in that group text messaged me separately, individually, and told me. But she didn't. And then she texted the group for, the other girl. So, she like is acting. Anyway, it just reminded me of that, how people will want to be like your friend or want to be in your friend group or whatever it is, but they'll play very obvious favorites and choose when to support you and when not to, or when to acknowledge you and when not to.
No, that's true. No, that's true.
Yeah, I think, like I said, that was like a poorly explained rant a little bit.
No, listen, no, I want you to get it out. You're fine. You are fine.
I appreciate
Get it
that.
out. Get it out.
But I think, kind of like you said, there is a big maturity difference there. And I honestly, bringing it all the way back to the beginning of this discussion, I have to wonder how much of who we are as children and young people can be tied into your development, and how because I'm not an expert on this at all. I don't know a ton about it. I just know about a little bit about indulging like your inner child and healing yourself in that way. But I just wonder how much of that comes back together and how it affects the rest of our lives. Maybe I'll have to have you back on once you get that PhD, and we can talk about it.
Yeah, that's it. That is it. Listen, that works. Listen, that works for me. That works for me. Give me a few years, and that's it.
Perfect. Are you gonna go by Dr. Kyndra on as a comedian?
Dr. Kyndra Crump. I think that's what I can do.
Crump. I like it.
That's what I can do. That's definitely what I can do.
I don't know any other comedians with a doctorate, with a PhD. That's pretty impressive.
I was gonna say, like, I'm about to just break some records all around the world.
You know, Shaq has a PhD, right? Or no, he has an ED. Anyway, Shaq's a doctor.
Really?
Yeah, it's in early childhood education. That's my fun fact of the day.
That is amazing. Okay, go ahead with the fun fact.
I love a fun fact. Well, okay, I know you are a busy lady. You have got other things to do, but I wanted to ask you, what are some resources that you can suggest to our listeners that have helped you grow, that have influenced who you are as a person, comedian, all of the above? Mental health advocate, all of the above.
I can say influences. Number one, God. God influences me. I read the word. I always say start your day off with God first, and then listen to some rap music afterwards, gangster rap to be exact.
I love it.
That's what I that's what I do. And I think being around positive people who will bring the best out of me actually influences me. Some of these people come in my life for just a season, but they have helped me out along the way. Reading memes that actually are very positive and help me out in the long end and the realm of trying to be with certain things that I'll come across, that just try to help me better. Sometimes people who are like, fake positive, they'll post some of the most positive stuff. I'll just read that. I like their posts. I'm like, man, you still are full of shit. That's why, I be thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, I already know who the real you are. I got fooled a couple times with some people. I'm like, yeah, I thought you was different, but you're not.
They still post some good stuff though sometimes.
Yeah, they'll post amazing stuff to fool everybody else. And I'm like, oh, okay, you're great. And then you started my DM on a different tip, sir. Wait. Didn't your post just say? Okay, got it. But yeah, so that's pretty much where I'm at in that realm and how I got there and stuff like that as far as with the influences. And yeah.
I love that. Thank you very much for that. And now I want you to tell the listener where they can find you, where they can find like all of your socials, all of the above, YouTube, everything. And then also like, maybe if you want to name drop a place or two that you do shows at a lot. I don't know if you've got some go-tos, but go for it.
Yes. My Instagram is the Kyndra Crump Show. So the is in the KYNDRA. CRUM is in Mary P's and Paul Show, SHOW. That's my Instagram. My YouTube is Kyndra Crump, KYNDRA, space CRUMP, and my podcast is called the Kyndra Crump Show Podcast.
Love it. I will link all of that in the show notes, like for the listeners. If you don't know exactly what that is, that's the little description beneath the episode wherever you're listening. I'll link that there. I'll also link it in the blog post for today's episode on I'veBeenThinkingPod.com/blog, or just I'veBeenThinkingPod.com, and you can click on blog up in the top. Yeah, so all of those resources will be there. And I just want to thank you very much, Kyndra, for coming on. Anybody who's new, you can follow I've Been Thinking at I've Been Thinking Pod on Instagram, at Been Thinking Pod, BEEN Thinking Pod on Twitter. I've been trying to be more active on there. And you can check out our Patreon if you want to provide monetary support in exchange for early and extra content. That's patreon.com/I'veBeenThinkingPod. So thank you again, Kyndra, so much for coming on. This has been so much fun.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
New on Curiosity Stream.
I'm James Burke. I'm going to take you on a journey through time.
James Burke's visionary series returns reimagined for our time.
Now, this is all uncharted territory.
The Washington Post hails Burke as one of the most intriguing minds in the Western world. The New York Times raves he careens from one great moment in history to another.
Where do we want to go from here?
Experience all new Connections.
So what's the next connection?
With monthly, annual, and bundled plans, find the one that works for you at CuriosityStream.com.